Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Head, and welcome back to the Baseball Head 2, and hopefully you like this video. Hit that subscribe button. We're going to go through the free agents that are still out there, and the trade candidates, and talk about the players that got traded, and of course, that signed with teams. A lot of players, boy. So many big players are still on the market. I don't know why baseball's gotten like this, where we're waiting and waiting and waiting. It makes no sense. But there were some trades today, nothing of any major note, to be honest with you. But there were a couple moves here that I have here on my list of players. But let's start at the top. He's still out there, and that's Kyle Tucker. He's still out there. My goodness. He's going to be out there till after the new year. But we got a bunch of teams on him. The Cubs, possibly going back there. Although, what I read, I think earlier, is that he's not going to go back to the Cubs. And he's not going to go back to Houston. So those two teams. But we've heard the Yankees, the Mets, Seattle, the Dodgers, San Francisco, Philadelphia, Baltimore, Toronto. Maybe not Philadelphia now since they made they re-signed Schwarber. Philadelphia made a trade today. They traded Strom, that really gross-looking lefty they have. They traded him today to the Royals. A very strange trade for the Phillies. But AI saying Toronto. A lot of people saying Toronto. Pete Alonso. We know where he went. He went to the Orioles. Edwin Diaz, he went with the Dodgers. Dylan Cease is still out there. I don't think the Mets will be in on him. The Yankees. We got the Angels on this list. Baltimore, Atlanta. I don't see Atlanta doing that. Philadelphia and Boston. AI saying the Jays. Well, maybe not so much now. I don't know. Zach Gallen. What am I talking about? Dylan Cease signed with the Jays. I'm all right. Long day today. Zach Gallen. Where is he going to go? Oh, it's funny you should mention. I have not heard anything much with him, but AI is saying the Yankees. Framber Valdez, quiet market for him because he's looking for a lot of years. AI is saying the Cubs, 6 years, $180 million. We'll see. His market is very slow. The market's very slow. Bo Bichette. He's telling people, I'll play anywhere. I'll play second just to get a deal. I think he'll go back to the Blue Jays. Cody Bellinger. So, Bellinger, it seems like there's really two teams in on him. And that of the Mets and the Yankees. If the Yankees lose another player to the Mets, the day of the Steinbrenner era of spending money like it's going out of style is over with. And it seems like the Mets owner had a meltdown on X today. Pissed off that the media is saying that he's cutting payroll. But Cody Bellinger, I asked Grok, the AI on X, where is Cody Bellinger going to go? And Grok said it would come down to the Mets or the Yankees. So I pushed Grok up against the corner. I was like, look, AI, you got all this information at hand. Tell me where he's going to go. And at the end of the day, he said the Mets. It said the Mets. But still the Yankees. So it's probably a 60-40 situation. Maybe 55-45 chance that he'll go to the Mets on a 6-year, $180 million contract. And the Mets will put him in the outfield a little bit, first base, to cover themselves when they don't play Polanco at first. Ranger Suarez, where's he going to go? Well, it's funny you should ask. Got Toronto, San Francisco, the Phillies going back there, the Mets, the Cubs, and Baltimore. AI said the Mets. Kyle Schwarber resigned with the Phillies, you know. Munetaka Murakami, one of the big mysteries of the Japanese market, and really the whole Japanese market is very quiet. But AI is sort of up in the air as well as everybody else because he's got till Monday, 5 p.m. to sign. So maybe we'll have some movement this weekend and find out where he signs. But AI is saying he's going to sign with the Astros. I guess we'll play first. This guy's got a high upside. He's got an 80-90 power rating, but he's got long swing. Francisco Lindor, whose name has popped up back on this list after the host scratched him off. We got San Diego at the forefront of this, but we'll see. Maybe Toronto, probably on the outside, maybe the Dodgers. But really, Padres and the Blue Jays keep an eye on. Okay? If they can't come to any kind of situation where they can agree with him and Soto, he's going to be gone. But he might be gone anyway, even next year at this time, if they can't resolve this problem between the two players. And there is an issue there. Lindor doesn't like Soto. Jeff McNeil, he's not been moved yet, but we've seen Seattle, Minnesota, the Angels, Arizona, Houston, Chicago, San Francisco, Detroit, San Diego, Toronto, Pittsburgh, the A's, Kansas City. AI saying the Pirates, well, maybe not after this trade. They picked up Brandon Lowe today. Brandon Nimmo got traded to the Rangers. David Peterson's name's been out there. He's been floated out, and trade talks. The Mets want to move him. He's got one more year left on his contract. You want to sign him to a 5-6 year deal with his injury history and being inconsistent and being a well-pawned player? I don't know. Sandy Alcantara, AI saying that he's going to get traded to the Cubs. Joe Ryan doesn't look like he's going to get moved. Logan Gilbert doesn't look like he's going to get moved, but I've heard Boston a little bit. The Mets, the Cubs, the Phillies, Baltimore, San Francisco, the Angels, Detroit, and Toronto. Merrill Kelly re-signed with the Diamondbacks after getting traded. Chris Bassett. A new team has popped up with him. We got Milwaukee, Atlanta, Baltimore, Boston, the Arizona Diamondbacks, the A's, the Yankees, Texas, Houston, and the Mets. The Mets have popped up again as a place the Mets might re-sign him, bring him back here, because the new regime kind of likes him, but we'll see. There were some issues when he left here in New York. Alex Bregman, his market's very slow. I think once Bellinger signs and Tucker signs, his market could come quick. But AI saying Boston, especially since they lost out on Alonso, they may go pivot back to Bregman. Mike Conforto's still out there. Lucas Giolito. The Mets have popped up as a team. The Angels, Houston, Arizona, Baltimore, San Francisco, Texas, Chicago, Boston, Yankees, Toronto, Miami, and Atlanta. That's an Atlanta move I've ever seen one. Trent Grisham took the qualifying offer from the Yankees and screwed up the whole Yankees offseason. Screwed up their whole offseason, folks. Rhys Hoskins. The Phillies, Minnesota, Toronto, Chicago, Milwaukee, Boston, Yankees. I put the Mets here. I don't know why. I don't really care for them. Michael King re-signed with the Padres on Thursday night late. Nick Martinez, his name's popped up with the New York Mets, but I had him on here anyway. Boston, San Diego, Cleveland, the Yankees, Cincinnati, Atlanta, Baltimore. AI saying he's going to re-sign with the Reds. Emilio Pagan re-signed with the Reds. Jorge Polanco signed them with the Mets for a 2-year contract for $22 million. What's interesting here is that AI had predicted 2 years, $26 million. AI was pretty close. They had him re-sign with Seattle. JT Realmuto, he's going to re-sign with the Phillies. That's what AI is saying. Tree School, I have his name on here, but I don't have a destination. Mason Miller, we have him attached to the Mets. Luis Robert Jr., we got San Diego, Pittsburgh, and the Mets. Beware of him. He cannot hit. That's just kind of odd. Robert Suarez, signed with the Braves. Eugenio Suarez. AI saying he's going to sign with the Angels. Josh Naylor, re-signed with the Mariners. Luis Ariz, he's still out there. AI saying the Angels, 2 years, $30 million. Brandon Woodruff re-signed with the Brewers. Clay Holmes, I don't think he's going to get moved now. Freddie Peralta, the Mets, Boston, San Francisco, Toronto, and Baltimore. It seems like the Mets are more interested in these mid-market guys, especially with the starting pitch. I don't know if they'll move any of their big players in their farm system for a guy like Peralta for 1 year. Shane Bieber re-signed with the Blue Jays. Devin Williams signed with the Mets. Jack Flaherty re-signed with the Tigers. Gleyber Torres re-signed with the Tigers. Kensley Jansen signed with the Tigers. Ryan Helsley signed with the Orioles. Luke Weaver signed with the Mets. See what kind of deal that is for the Mets. Kazuma Okamoto, his market is very quiet, but AI said that the Mets are going to sign him for 4 years, $64 million. We'll keep an eye on him because he does have. I think he would be a fit here with the Mets. That should sign him and Bellinger, in my opinion, and really fill out this lineup in a really big way because he can hit and he's a good defensive player, either a third or first, and play a little bit of the outfield. Hunter Green's not getting moved. I'd be surprised. Mackenzie Gore's probably going to get moved, but we heard the Mets, Toronto, Milwaukee Cubs, and Yankees. He is not a big prospect like he was. He's not a number one starter, so don't give up a lot for him. Mitch Keller, Boston, the Mets, the Cubs, the Yankees, and San Diego rumored. Sonny Gray got traded to the Red Sox. Pablo Lopez, he's still there with the Twins. I don't think he's going to get moved. Pete Fairbanks, I would probably scratch this AI prediction because AI said the Dodgers, but obviously with Evan Diaz going there, that's not going to happen. Brandon Lowe just got traded to the Pirates. Jaron Duran, he's out there. Wilmer Brady, he's still out there. Taylor Ward got traded to the Orioles. Orioles very active this offseason. Hopefully the moves they make and get them back into contention. Joe Adele, he's out there on the market. Brady Singer, he's out there on the market. Dolis Garcia signed a contract with the Phillies, which probably makes Nick Castellanos expendable. Jonah Heim's out there. Alex Baum might be getting moved. Randy Arozarena, he's on the market. He could get traded. Who knows to where? C.J. Abrams, he could get traded. Jake Berger. Mark Vientos is on the market. Luis Angel Cunha's on the market. Ronnie Mauricio's on the market. Wilson Contreras could get moved probably to Boston. Luis Severino, he could get moved. Tatsuya Amai, keep an eye on him. The Cubs, San Diego, Boston, the Yankees, Phillies, Baltimore. Shota Amanaga, re-signed with the Cubs. Brad Keller got traded to the Phillies today. Hai-Sung Kim re-signed with the Braves. Ryan O'Hearn. We got Miami, Seattle, and the Mets. Harrison Bader, San Francisco, maybe not Kansas City so much now. Cleveland, the Angels, and the Mets. Raisel Iglesias re-signed with the Braves. Zach Littell, we got Washington, the Angels, San Diego, Tampa Bay, and the New York Mets. Justin Verlander, this is a shock. Houston, the New York Yankees, San Francisco, and the Mets have popped up again on his radar because I guess they want some sort of professionalism in this rotation, but he is like 97 years old. Kyle Finnegan, he's out there. Tyler Rogers signed a contract with the Jays. Ketel Marte, there's all kinds of rumors last week that he was going to get traded to Boston. That's died down a lot. But the other teams, Detroit and Tampa, Christian Walker could get moved. Edward Cabrera, Spencer Jones, Kodai Senga. There was talk that he could get traded. I don't know who's going to get traded now. It's gotten awfully quiet. Mets are not happy with the offers that they've gotten. Nick Pivetta, we've heard him a lot with the Mets. He might get moved. I saw a trade that the failed general manager of the New York Mets, Jim Duquette, had put out there on SNY. He should be ashamed of himself. Will Darvish could get moved. Wandy Peralta, Yuki Matsui, Kona Takahashi is another Japanese player that could get signed by some team. Joey Lucchesi got non-tendered, or Jose Castillo, Max Kranick, Danny Young, all New York Mets now non-tendered and free agents. Colin Holderman signed with the Guardians. Christopher Morel signed with the Marlins. Nathan Lowe, Chris Bubick, Cole Reagans, Seth Lugo. We got the Mets, Boston. I put the Mets down because he would be pretty good to come back here. And Baltimore. Michael Walker could be available. Lars Nootbaar, the Mets are attached to him. Nolan Arenado said he'll waive his no trade clause to get moved finally. Trevor McGill, the Mets, the Yankees, and the Dodgers attached. Josh Bell signed with the Twins. So these are the top players this market this offseason that have been moved, that are signed with teams, and teams that could, and some predictions I have here from AI for myself, and we'll see. But thank you for watching this video, and of course, please subscribe to Baseball Head 2, and I'll see you later. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host. Welcome back to the Baseball Head, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're back here talking about the Mets. Mets are being very active from what I've heard. Articles I've read and just sort of the tea leaves. But we don't really know what's going on until we have some trades. Obviously, they signed Luke Weaver to that contract on the other day, which Yankee fans told me, you know, the Yankee fan of my family was not happy that he signed with the Mets because they really liked him. And then at some point in June, he's going to be closed in June. That's what my family member told me. But so I expect a lot of movement because the Mets do need a lot of help. They need some starting pitching help, obviously, and apparently they're looking for another hitter. I got a couple of articles from SI, and this is from the last couple of days. Things are some kind of drama too with the owner. I have a separate video on that. What could be next for the New York Mets, according to sources on SI? New York Mets have a lot of work to do this offseason and exploring multiple ways to improve their ball club. Now, apparently, David Stearns has been told by Steve Cohen to do what must be done, do what you want to do. They gave this group a chance, and they basically got rid of a lot of these players that have been dragging this organization down in terms of winning a World Series. Keep in mind the numbers are all beautiful from these players. But as Mets fans, are we loyal to the players or are we loyal to the team? You want the team to win or you want to see these millionaire players keep getting more money. And that's what it came down to. All these guys left for more money, except for Brandon Nimmo, who wanted, who accepted the deal. New York Mets offseason has consisted of losing a trio of impact players and fan favorites in Pete Alonso, Edwin Diaz, and Brandon Nimmo, and bringing in Marcus Semien, Devin Williams, Jorge Polanco, and Luke Weaver. So what could be next? Well, it's funny you should mention that. Let's get into the article. The Mets are currently engaged in both the free agent and trade markets, looking for pitching help and a bat, according to rival executives. Mets are targeted multiple teams about potential trades and recently spoke to the San Diego Padres about a number of players, including closer Mason Miller, who they really like, starter Nick, well, everybody likes him, starter Nick Pivetta, relievers Adrian Marjon and Jeremiah Estrada, as well as outfielder Ramon Laureano. Now, a couple of things. On Thursday, Michael King re-signed with them, and Luke Weaver signed with the Mets, so you wonder if there's a little bit less of a need for both teams in terms of a trade. So maybe there might not be a big trade here like there might have been 40 hours ago or 2 days ago. New York and San Diego line up well as trade partners and could help the other fill some holes. The Mets have a surplus of infielders, and the Padres have a need on the right side of their infield. San Diego's also looking for young pitching, which the Mets possess. Now, the Mets need a lot of help in the pitching staff, and they have a ton of infielders. Luis Angel Acuna, Mark Vientos, Ronnie Mauricio. These guys, somebody needs to go, and it does not include guys like A.J. Ewing and Jet Williams, Ryan Clifford, and a whole bunch of other kids they have in their system. Mets open to trading infielder DH Mark Vientos, as first reported by Mets on SI on Sunday. In addition to Vientos, infielders Ronnie Mauricio, Luis Angel Acuna are available too. Utility man Jeff McNeil has been on the trading block all off-season as well. Even after losing first baseman Pete Alonso to the Baltimore Orioles in free agency, Mets have a crowded infield after trading for Semien and signing Polanco. Now, the thing is that it'll be interesting to see the kind of production the Mets get from Semien and Polanco and whether that can be sort of, aggregated. That sort of famous thing about Jason Giambi leaving the A's and Moneyball, and they brought in a whole bunch of guys like David Justice and Scott Hadworth and Hatteberg, and and they kind of combined a bunch of players. Although I mentioned that team had big pitching, no, that sort of gets forgotten. As for the pitching side, Curtis Sang and David Peterson have been shopped this winter. The Mets were not happy with the offers the Mets got for Senga. The Mets had Noah McLean, Brandon Sproat, and Jonah Tom, all highly valued pitching prospects. McLean is viewed as untouchable, and the Mets would have to receive major star power in return in order to steal Sproat and Tom. I would mention they were all part of the Mets Christmas party on Thursday, and I'd be surprised if they got moved. Just off of that, the three of them, they very much highlighted their pitchers, and of course, Clay Holmes was Santa Claus. God help us, God help them. Sources say the Mets are comfortable going into the regular season with Tyrone Taylor, Carson Benz, Jet Williams as their center field options. However, the team is still looking to add in this area as well. Chicago White Sox center fielder Luis Robert Jr. is one name that the Mets have shown interest in this offseason. According to the New York Post, I would stay far away from them. There are issues there. Mets president of baseball operations Dave Stearns certainly has his work cut out for him this winter. The Mets have numerous holes on their roster that must be filled by the end of the offseason, and they're exploring both the free agent and trade markets in an attempt to do so. Well, we're going to find out. We're going to find out very soon, very quickly, what's going on, because before you know it, it'll be spring training. Let's have to have roster here. I'm going to get into more detail in this video coming up right now. Here's more from SI. Mets are aggressive in this free agency market. The Mets are showing serious interest in a specific segment of free agents, and there are some surprise names that have popped up in this. I guess best way to describe it is the second tier of starters. Let me skip around a little bit. There seems to be a decent chance Dave Stearns will execute a deal for one of the top 5 free agent starters. Tatsuya Amai, Ranger Suarez, Zach Gallen, Michael King's gone, and Framber Valdez in the coming weeks. However, given that at least 3 of these 5 starters are seeking a long-term deal, and the Mets are hesitant to offer such a deal, it might be more unlikely that one of these arms ends up in Queens by opening day. I don't think it's a matter of the money. I think it's a matter of the years. They don't want to give big contracts to these pitchers. They always get hurt. You better build them from within. Jeff Passan says Mets are aggressive, pursue mid-tier starters. ESPN MLB insider Jeff Passan conveyed that New York is active in this mid-tier starter market by writing, quote, among those who have been most aggressive in mid-tier pursuit, according to sources, the White Sox, Orioles, Angels, Nationals, Mets, Padres, and Diamondbacks. When addressing which pitchers he'd include in this tier, Passan wrote, and these are some shocking names for your host, Chris Bassett is the best of the bunch for teams seeking innings, and Lucas Giolito has the highest ceiling. Nick Martinez and Zach Littell are steady strike throwers. Max Scherzer and Justin Verlander. Back to the future. Back to the home. Back to the retirement home. Our quaternarians with enough stuff and know-how to succeed in Tyler Mahle and German Marquez, tantalizing teams that dream on what they could get out of a full, healthy version. Now, some of these names are very amusing. Walker Buehler remains a prime bounce-back candidate. Patrick Corbin, a lefty who can pitch forever. And Michael Lorenzen, an ever-steady swingman. It's scary. While most of these names don't have the same appeal as guys like Tatsuya Amaya and Framber Valdez do, there's no question that many of these mid-tier arms have a low-risk, high-reward appeal that could make them invaluable to the Mets. Among the most compelling might be Chris Bassett, who's coming off a regular season where he posted an 11-9 record with a 3.96 ERA and 166 strikeouts and 173rd innings pitching with Blue Jays. He then transferred the bullpen for Toronto's playoff run, tallying a 1.04 ERA and 8 2/3 innings pitched across 7 appearances. He pitched really well in the postseason. The issue with him was that before he left the Mets, he complained that it was a lot of pressure in New York. And he did pitch in the postseason, pitched rather well for the Blue Jays. But he's a guy that sort of, he's he'll drive you crazy, but he's a professional guy. I liked him when he was here, but I didn't really care for what he said at the end of his run with the Mets, which was only 1 year. I don't think they really cared for him, but he was part of that very good rotation that they had with him and Scherzer and DeGrom there for a while. I like him, but there are issues there. I wouldn't give him anything more than 2 years at the most. He's still good. And he's a bit of a late bloomer in the major leagues, so his amount of innings are not nearly as high as for a guy that has been around, that's 36 years old now? His innings total is not that high for a guy of his age. But to see Verlander's name pop up and Scherzer's name pop up on this list of pitchers, boy. I know one thing, Scherzer will get you the postseason. He's always in postseason. Even with the Mets, he was in the postseason with them the 1 year. That's the one thing about Scherzer. He always finds his way to the postseason. That's the amazing thing about him. He always finds his way into the postseason. The Tigers, the Nationals, the Dodgers, the Mets, and the Blue Jays. He finds his way there. Might not pitch most of the year, but he gets there. And he gets there by the end of the season. I had no problem bringing him back either, but he's a little unstable that time. If he's not throwing strikes and you get a lot of weird things from him. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. Of course, just a reminder, I'm also on Facebook. The Facebook account is doing great. We got almost 7,000 people following me on there, and thank you for following me on that. Put the link into the description if you haven't already. And of course, thank you for watching me on YouTube. I wish everybody a early Merry Christmas, and of course, we'll be back again tomorrow with videos and everything else, and we'll see if we get some kind of moves this week going into Christmas, hopefully. But thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion, your host, the Hut, and welcome back to another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Now, welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button so we'll talk again at WFAN. A lot of tears were shed, not by your host, of course, on Friday, but the final show of the Brandon Tierney took place, and he was by himself without Sal Licata, and I'll have a video on that to sort of run down some of it. He did sort of a retrospective of his time there, specifically with the Spaz over the 2 years. That was a show that they were doing a good job. They had decent chemistry together. People were talking about them. The host was making fun of them, which was great because he was able to make some money off of them. But apparently, that show's over because Craig Carton, the twice host of the Fan, is returning to WFAN, and he basically reshuffled the whole entire lineup. And not to be mean, but he's mid. You know what it is? Somebody wrote to me, well, why is this different now than the past? Well, because of social media. Social media is different because that's why they kind of look at it a little bit differently, because they use a lot of the stuff now. WFAN looks at it that they can use some of the crazy stuff, supposed crazy stuff that Carton says, and they can use it on social media. It's not just about what the ratings are on the Fan anymore, or on the radio anymore. The media has changed. We know that radio is a dying, especially sports talk, is kind of not dying, but you don't have the big superstars that you used to have, like Mike and the Mad Dog and Mike and all these guys. You don't have that anymore. So all you got is a bunch of mid guys, and because all the better ones, all the better talk show hosts, they have their own shows. They're all independent. And that's really the way to go. But for some reason, Craig Carton is so institutionalized, he had to come back to the radio station, back to the insane asylum, back to the nervous hospital, known as the Fan. The Fan used to be located in the famous Carton Studios, which films Sesame Street, and a lot of movies and sitcoms. I think one of the Cosby Show sitcoms was filmed there. I think, which one was it? The one that had Madeline Kahn on it. She was one of the characters on the show. So that's a very famous place. And then they moved into the city, or I guess in the mid-2000s, 2009, 2010, they moved to the city. But this is a radio station that's been around from the beginning. They are the first talk radio that talks specifically about sports. But now Sal Licata had a lot to say about the return of Craig Carton. Now, I said back in the summer on the Baseball Hut 2, long before the Baseball Hut 3 was anything. Never even thought about doing this channel. But Sal Licata, I had said that he was in trouble because he was the low man on the totem pole, just based on the fact that he was a fill-in guy. He was a guy that did overnights. This was a guy that did the weekends. He was steady, but he wasn't that steady. He didn't have his regular show. And that he was going to be in trouble if Carton decided to come back. And I think he would have been in trouble no matter what. I think he was probably the low man on the totem pole for pretty much no matter what the scenario was. He was the one that was the most in trouble. The two least in trouble people at the radio station was Boomer Esiason and Evan Roberts. Norman wasn't going anywhere, and Uneven wasn't getting fired. So we had this situation where a lot of these other people, Brandon Tierney, Tiki Barber, Sal, were in trouble. Also would mention, as an aside, a week before this announcement came of Carton returning to the Fan, Keith McPherson just dropped his show and quit. And I believe that he quit because he knew the writing was on the wall and he was going to get, I don't know if he was going to get fired, but I think he left of his own accord and saw the writing on the wall and just decided to drop everything. But I know a lot of people were not too happy with him. They just, the audience didn't really care for him, to be honest with you, from what I've heard. And just reading certain things and listening to certain things, clips and stuff. His relationship with the audience wasn't great, unless you like putting like a screwdriver in your ear. But this is from Barrett Media, and Sal had a lot to say, I guess, independently. Quote, Sal Licata, I don't blame Craig Carton for coming back at WFAN. Quote, technically he didn't take my spot. Evan and Tiki took my spot. I probably would have brought them back too, just not at my expense. Now, what's most interesting here, is that he blames Evan. He blames Evan and Tiki for taking a spot. Because what was going to happen here, and just reading through the tea leaves and some of the things that were said, specifically from uneven Evan Roberts, Evan had said that he compared his relationship with Carton and his relationship with Tiki as a marriage. Okay? So he didn't want the first marriage to end. It's so bizarre. Okay? The comparison is so bizarre. He didn't want the second marriage to end because the first married person that he was with came back. So in other words, they came to uneven and said, uneven, Evan, we're going to bring Craig back. What would you say if we brought him back and you could team up with him again? And I think he said no. Well, we know he said no because he said no. Okay? And I think there's less drama there with Tiki. There's no drama with Tiki. Nothing. Not only is he boring on the air, not only is he like that on the air, but he's boring probably, which is a good thing. He wouldn't be boring off the air. So I don't think he wanted to have to worry about his partner dropping him and him having to carry the load. Just my own opinion. I don't know. But just reading what he said and watching what he said a week ago, I think that's kind of what happened with the whole thing. So at that point, they said, all right, we'll put Evan in the morning. That meant that Tierney and Sal, that show is kaput. Completely. Okay? Maybe they could have kept Tierney and got rid of Sal, put Tiki back in the morning. They could have done that. Now, I don't think none of them were going to do the late night, which was 7 to 10 or whatever it is. Former WFAN host Sal Licata opened up about about his departure from the sports radio powerhouse and shared his perspective on the return of Craig Carton during an appearance on the Stugatz & Company podcast. Licata, who had been co-hosting shows on WFAN with Brandon Tierney following Carton's earlier exit, said he always understood that Carton's return was inevitable. Quote, we all knew it was going to happen. So my plan was never, I hope he doesn't come back. I got to do the best job that I could do with the opportunity I've been given. And I plan on doing that, Licata said. I feel like I did do that. That's when I factored Craig coming back. I did not factor in that, no matter how well I performed, how much I put into this thing, how good we did as a show, or I did as an individual, it didn't matter. That sucks. That's what sucks about the radio industry. Despite the setback, Spaz expressed gratitude for his time at WFAN, calling a key chapter in his career. That part of my life and that part of my dream is over, and now I got to focus on a bigger dream, a different path, he said. I love the fan. I always loved the fan, but my future definitely now is no longer WFAN. WFAN officially announced Carton's return last week with his destination being an afternoon drive. He'll pair with Chris McMonagle, a.k.a. the Psycho Killer. I heard that on the radio the other day. Heard twice on the radio the other day. Couldn't believe it. Couldn't stop laughing. But it's all fun. I like the scary song. For a new show that will begin after the turn of the calendar. Due to Carton's return, the station's moving uneven Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber to the 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. window Brandon Tierney and Spaz Licata previously occupied. Quote, I don't blame Craig at all for coming back. He's got to do what he's got to do. The boss made their decision. All good, but yes, technically it didn't take my spot. Evan and Tiki took my spot. Bullshit. I probably would have brought him back too, just not at my expense. The former host, who had gained a dedicated following during his tenure, highlighted the challenging dynamics of the sports radio landscape in New York, where decisions often hinge on ratings, management, strategy, and long-standing relationships. Licata's remarks suggest a professional, measured response to a high-profile personnel change, while also hinting at the emotional complexity of leading a platform where he invested significant energy. Spaz and the Coconut Head announced plans for a live stage show set for January 22nd. Licata wrapped up his tenure with the station last week, with Tierney hosting solo for the final show on Friday. Now, that's it. That's the story. Yes, that's the story of the two that outpatient. They're now outpatients. They're probably better off. Hopefully, I'll have a video on Brandon Tierney where he's going to go. I said, you want to be independent. Be independent. You can do whatever you want. Be independent. You can make your own money. All you got to do is just build your brand. That's all you got to do. It's not that hard. I can do it. I have no background in broadcasting at all. And it shows, doesn't it? Well, thank you for watching this video. And of course, this is another visit. And hopefully a final visit. Helping out Sal Licata. I said Spaz was in trouble. And it turned out to be right. And of course, this is another visit to the insane asylum. The nervous hospital known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Hi, everybody. This is the baseball height, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, welcome back to the Baseball at 3, and hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. This video, we're going to talk about Christopher Mad Dog Russo because he's such a fun person to make fun of. I mean, to talk about and discuss. And this is one of these situations where I actually agree with him. This is the NBA Cup, which sounds stupid. There's only one cup in the championships of the major sports. That's the Stanley Cup. The NBA Cup sounds dumb. But Russo was destroying the Knicks, which I don't understand why he blasting the Knicks. That's not one thing, because if the NBA is doing this thing, they have to win this cup and this midseason cup, that's up to them. But headline from Awful Announcing, Chris Russo blasts Knicks celebrating win in stupid NBA Cup. Quote, we're going to celebrate this with hats and banners, a challenge cup. Yeah, it's pretty dumb. The New York Knicks won their first trophy since 1973. It's a long time, folks. On Tuesday nights, they lifted the NBA Cup, defeating the San Antonio Spurs by a score of 124-113 in Las Vegas. While the players certainly seemed happy about the accomplishments and sharing in the prize money, Christopher Russo was not impressed. I'm not impressed. At 66 years old, Russo has always been one to speak out for the stars of yesteryear and the perspective of the old-timers. So if there was anyone in the sports world that would be against the idea of the NBA Cup, just for his genetic rhyming, it would be the Mad Dog. After all, it's not a trophy that Bob Cousy and George Milken played for. Nope. No, it's not. And true to form, his weekly appearance on First Take brought with it an incredible rant against the tournament and the Knicks for celebrating a victory on Wednesday. Well, what are you going to do? You won something and make a big deal out of it. Let's be honest. Somewhere, Walt Frazier, when Willis Reed and Red Holzman are saying, really? Well, first of all, there's two problems with that. Willis Reed is not with us anymore. Red Holzman's not with us anymore. Red Holzman is the former and late and legendary coach of the New York Knicks. He's no longer with us. Willis Reed is the late and legendary center for the New York Knicks, and he's not with us either. Well, Walt Clyde Frazier is a different story. Trippin' and bippin', Walt Clyde Frazier. He's still alive. He still calls the games for the Knicks. He's just great. We're going to celebrate this stupid thing, this inauthentic creation to jazz up the regular season, which means absolutely nothing in the big picture. Hey, it's supposed to be fun, dude. I agree with him, but it is supposed to have some fun here. We're going to celebrate this with hats and banners, a challenge cup. This is like the World Baseball Classic, which I've always killed, by the way. I did with Ohtani and Trout, so I'm consistent. I'm consistent, too. I hate the World Baseball Classic. The World Baseball Classic destroyed the Mets' 2023 season. This is stupid. This is authentic. This is not authentic. You're not going to convince a Knicks fan. I'm surprised that Steve, who goes back to 69-70, who goes back to Carl Braun, for crying out loud. Who's Carl Braun? It's really going back. Who goes back to Sweetwater Clifton, and you're going to sit there and tell me this is something significant? A fabricated event, question mark. When Mbiyama played 20 minutes, are we going to do this now? You must be kidding. Well, no, they're not, Chris. Russo almost lost his voice at the end of the tirade, going through more ancient Knicks history before then turning his eye to Stephen A. Smith for celebrating the Knicks' victory over the Spurs in the NBA Cup final. Yeah, Stephen A. Smith, the thing about Stephen A. is he sounds smarter than he actually does. For the record, ESPN's Sham Sharina reported the Knicks won't be raising a banner to the rafters of Madison Square Garden for winning the NBA Cup. Well, good. That's in spite of the Lakers and Bucks doing so for being the first two teams to win the tournament. Good. And part of it is because this is a very serious New York Knicks team. New York Knicks have a very good chance to win the championships this year, and I am not joking. They're really good. They came awfully close last year to get to the finals, and there's no fooling around now. Okay, so I don't think that they want to. It won't look good. It sets the priorities very strangely from a Knicks organization standpoint to put that up. It shouldn't be lost on anybody that the most prominent, loudest voices sharing their disdain for the NBA Cup are also some of the oldest, and Chris Russo, Charles Barkley. Although Barkley didn't cite basketball stars for Nixon administration, he still called the tournament embarrassing. Charles Barkley never won. So, he always wanted to win a championship, and he was always being thwarted by Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan crushed he had one chance against the Bulls, and he got crushed. So this is a guy that wanted to win. He was a winning player, Barkley, but his teams never won. The Suns never won. The Sixers never won, and so this thing with the cup is stupid to a guy like him. They may not like it, but the NBA Cup is here to stay. The players care. Fans are getting more invested. If you remove the hyperbole, everyone else is realistic about what it means. The NBA Cup in no way compares to winning the NBA Finals, but it is a trophy and it's worth celebrating. And really, what's the harm in that? Well, here's the thing. The ratings for Netflix, like this was on Netflix, it's just absolutely crazy. So people cared enough to watch. I didn't care for it. I don't care. The Knicks get into the NBA Finals, I'm going to watch it. I was watching them last year. And they just sort of ran out of gas against Indiana. Indiana was just throwing threes all over the place. It's hard to go up against that kind of firepower. But this Knicks team is a serious championship team. And I'm not joking when I say that. If you're watching and you don't know what's going on in the NBA, the Knicks are a serious team to win it all. And they get to the finals, they got a shot. But they got to get past these good teams in the East. They're awfully close to being the best team in the East. They have a shot, a real legitimate shot to win the whole thing. Knicks haven't been this good in such a long time, not in 30 years, not since 1994. And they were one missed shot by John Starks from winning it all in 1994, and cementing Patrick Ewing as one of the great players of all time and a winning player. There's another guy that lost half a dozen times to Michael Jordan's teams. Half a dozen times. And and I feel bad for him because he should have taken that last shot and he didn't get that shot. And John Starks, who was a good player, came from out of nowhere as a player, took that shot and he missed it. And he always got all the big shots. So I don't blame the Knicks for not putting this banner up because you want to win this whole thing, and that tells you they're serious. But you let me know what you think about this video. What do you think about Chris saying this? I agree with Chris, by the way. Do you agree with it? Do you disagree with it? Did you watch it? Did you like it? Was it fun? I will say this. I've seen some of the Knicks uniforms, the black ones. Ugh. But anyway, thank you for watching this video, and I'll see you later. All right, everybody, this is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, the Hunter. Welcome back to the Baseball Head 3. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. I don't have the intro for the WFAN craziness because I feel that it's not respectful towards Brandon and Sal Licata now, so we won't be doing that anymore for them because they got out, which is probably the best thing for themselves and for their careers, to get the hell out of talk radio. Because after reading some things, some articles, the way they were treated at the end, disgusting. All for this guy that's been a convicted criminal, and Craig Carton. So hit the subscribe button. And I will say, I'm going to be goofing on Craig Carton like nobody's business. The icon. Couldn't have predicted that better than myself. Couldn't have concocted that kind of a nickname. The icon. Emphasis on the con. And he conned himself back to WFAN. And which starts on January 5th. So we're gonna have a lot of fun here. So if you're watching this channel, in this video and me for the first time, hit the subscribe button. Now, they're all going on vacation for 2 weeks now with Christmas and the New Year's. So we will have stuff here for you. And really, the reaction is quite interesting. I was very surprised by this. And they're two professional guys. I mean, they took this very professionally and, kept their chins up during all this. And they've known this for at least 2 weeks before it got out. But Brandon Tierney did his final show on Friday, and he got emotional. Now, last week, he did his final show with Sal Licata. And I would mention, I've been goofing on them for the last couple of years because they said a lot of crazy stuff, which I thought was a little unfair. But this exit was unavoidable because I said back in the summer that Carton was going to take over. But to do when it was done was terrible. But nevertheless, it's from Awful Announcing. Brandon Tierney tears up during an emotional WFN sign-off. I'm not afraid of the end. Quote, unquote. Hey, dude, you're not dying. I'm going to keep fighting, and I'm going to do something really big. Well, yeah. The best thing these guys can do is, folks, is to be on their own. They'll make a hell of a lot more money. And Brandon Tierney, I would mention on the final show that he had Alex Rodriguez. That's one of the biggest names in the media and one of the biggest names in the history of baseball. If you can get that guy on, there's no reason for him to be on a rinky-dink radio station like WFAN when he could do so much stuff online and be independent. At the sign-off of co-host Sal Licata last week, Brandon Tierney had his own emotional farewell to WFAN Friday afternoon. WFAN is set to undergo a massive lineup change in January when the icon, emphasis on the con, Craig Carton returns to the afternoon drive for his third tenure with the station. Now, the first go-around lasted 10 years. The second go-around lasted 3 years. This one will last less time. Comebacks do not last long. Just think of a musician. The comebacks don't usually last that long. And the move, overnight host Chris McMonagle, a.k.a. the Psycho Killer, will join Carton, while current afternoon host Uneven Evan Roberts and his husband, and his co-host Tiki Barber are moving to middays, leaving Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata without a slot at WFAN. Keep in mind, all these guys all have nicknames prior to today. You watch this video. Last Friday was the final episode of BT and Sal at WFAN, but Tierney continued to host the midday show solo this week, and on Friday, Tierney said goodbye to the station he grew up listening to. Tierney already noted he was starting to get emotional as he entered the final segment of the show. Then Tierney took his last call of his tenure on WFAN from his father. Oh boy. Get the tissues out. That's real stuff right there, man. I'm lucky to still have him. He's the best. And so is my mom. Absolutely best, quote unquote. Tierney said after taking a few seconds to gain his composure. I don't want to end it. I don't want it to end, but I'm not afraid of the end. I'm good. I mean, I might not sound good now, but I promise you I'm good. And also Tierney said, I'm going to go home to an amazing wife and 2 awesome kids and a ton of friends, not to mention my mom, my dad, and my sister who know I'm going to keep fighting. And I'm going to do something really big, but I just wanted to thank you guys. This is something that I had to touch. Well, everybody out there, it has been, quote unquote, Tierney continued as he started to get choked up. It's been my honor. Love you guys. Tierney reached what was considered the pinnacle for so many sports fans who grew up in the late 80s and 90s in New York, a show on WFAN, and he was successful. He was successful with Tiki Barber. He continued that success with Sal Licata. Unfortunately for Tierney and Licata, WFAN needed to make room for Craig Carton. There was no amount of ratings success in the middays that could have led WFAN to extend Tierney and Licata or returning Carton. And in the current media climate, it doesn't make sense for a radio station like WFAN to employ 4 shows in his weekday lineup. This is the same lineup they've had for 40 years. They weren't going to change that. Tierney spent the last 13 years working at 345 Hudson Street in New York, starting with CBS Sports Radio before moving to WFAN. And despite building several successful shows, the last few weeks may have been the most impressive part of his tenure. Continuing to work for a company when you know that replacing you isn't easy. But to the end, Tierney remained respectful of the situation and continued to deliver a strong product for the station. As for what's next, Tierney and Licata already announced a live show together on January 22nd. During his final show, Tierney also teased finding a way to do a weekly show with Licata in the near future. And after signing off, Tierney announced he will be on his own YouTube channel beginning next Monday. So having your own podcast, having your own YouTube channel is the way to go. You're your own boss. You'll keep the super chats because they turned the super chats off because their show was simulcast on YouTube. They had the cameras up and rolling, and those guys didn't make any money off of their content that they were providing for WFAN. So they may have been getting paid their regular rate. I highly doubt they were getting money for the YouTube channel and all the social media videos that they were posting on all the different social media accounts. Now, I have a future video on what happened behind the scenes and learning stuff over the last few days about what was going on behind the scenes makes that whole radio station look terrible. And even the on-air talent did them dirty too, by the way. Evan Roberts could have gone back with Craig Carton, and somebody's job could have been saved. The biggest disruptor in this whole thing was Evan Roberts, by the way. Because they asked Evan, do you want to go back with Carton? And he said no. Once that happened, Tierney and Sal were done as a show. Just logically thinking this out. Because they could always go back to Evan and say, Evan, you want to go back with Craigie? And he could have said yes. And then what probably they would have done is they probably would have put Tiki back on the midday, and Sal would have been the one out, but instead they're both out. Also keep in mind that there have been massive changes at the radio station over the last month. The night host, Keith McPherson, he's off. He's gone. He quit. Just all of a sudden quit. About a week before this news came out about Carton and coming back definitely. So there's been a lot of massive changes at the radio station. And nobody knows who the overnight guy is going to be because Chris McMahon, the psycho killer, was a late night guy. He was the overnight guy. So they don't have him there. So everything is up in the air. And then they put Sean Marash, a.k.a. the Spud, a.k.a. the glazed donut. He's going to be like the sidekick for Evan and Tiki. It's so strange that he's like the sidekick. You know. And they got Tommy Lugauer, who might be the most sane person right now of all the hosts now, all the hosts that got moved around here. You know. So he might be the most, you know, he might be the most sane person now, because even Evan was the most sane up until the last 2 weeks when he basically declared that he had a marriage to Tiki and started melting down about the New York Mets. But that's besides the point. A lot of Met fans are mad about the Mets. The host is, and I just wanted them to break the team up, and that was it, move on, bring in some other players, some better players. But Tierney's better off on his own. If this guy can get A-Rod to come on his show, get Alex Rodriguez to come on his last show, what the hell are you working for WFAN this whole time? You could have A-Rod on your channel. He would have thousands and thousands of views watching an interview with A-Rod. Silly. Same thing with Sal. You have all these people that you have connections to. Why are you wasting your time working for somebody? That's what's different now from, like, say, 5 years ago. When I started doing my YouTube channel, is that very independent. You can do your own thing. But these guys, they don't understand it. They're all institutionalized at this point. All institutionalized at this point. But you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, I feel bad for these guys. I really do. I goofed on them for 2 years. But I was very concerned when we got the news that Carton had lost his job at Fox Sports. You know, I would say he is a failure on TV. So don't ever forget that he doesn't fail either, you know. And again, I'm going to make a prediction. He will spend less time the third time around than he did the first 2 times. That's my prediction here at the baseball head. That's for damn sure. And usually I'm right about these things. Something crazy will happen to get him out of here. And then I would mention to Sal Licata and Brandon Tierney, build up your social media, build up your YouTube channels to a point that WFAN will beg you to come back. And when they start begging you to come back, you tell them to go F themselves. That's what I would do. Well, you let me know what you think about this video. And, of course, we hope and pray for them that they're able to get through this. It's not easy. And to do this before Thanksgiving, around Thanksgiving, by the way. We'll get into that in a future video. Terrible what happened here. But Thanks for watching this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut 3. And I'll see you later. Here's your Mets card of the day. Frank Viola. This is 1989 score traded. Now, the Mets picked him up at the deadline on July 31st at midnight, when they used to be at midnight. And this was a massive trade, a big trade. This was really the last breath of the 1980s Mets, because that year they still had Keith Hernandez, they still had Gary Carter on the team, but they were way past their prime, and they were injured most of the season. But for this trade, this was a crazy trade, because they picked up Viola, who was the American League Cy Young Award winner for 1988. And they traded Rick Aguilar, David West, Kevin Tapani, Tim Drummond at the deadline. Now, Aguilar, West, and Tapani were key players of the 1991 World Series champion Minnesota Twins. So those were key guys. Now, I missed not having Aguilar here, because Aguilar was a good pitcher here, 5th star, and he became a very good closer. But this was a very strange season, because the Mets were an older team. They traded so many players off of that 86 team. McDowell was gone. Dykstra was gone. Mookie was gone. They released Lee Mazzilli, and they tried to, bring get the team to the postseason that year. It just didn't work out. And this is the Mets card of the day. Frank Viola score, 1989 traded. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully like this video and hit that subscribe button. I wanted to do a video just to talk to you a little bit and just talk about the Mets, of course. It's just not really, I'll have to figure out what the title of this video is going to be, because there's a lot of stuff I think going on behind the scenes, but I don't necessarily think we're going to see any moves between now and really New Year, to be honest with you. Now, there are some players that are going to have to sign in Major League Baseball, and that's just Munetake Murakami. I don't think the Mets are in on him. He has until Monday, 5 p.m. to sign with a team. And your host doesn't think he's going to sign with the Mets. And I wouldn't be very surprised if he went back to Japan. The market for him, the market for all these Japanese players has been very quiet. We haven't heard much. I had hoped that they would be, this is the Mets, would be in on the Okamoto sweepstakes. Haven't heard much. I know that there was talk about Tatsuya Amai. I know his name's popped up a little bit. I would mention a little while ago, I was reading that the White Sox are very interested in Murakami, because his market has completely collapsed in terms of money. That teams aren't going to be spending a lot of money on it. Made $15 million. Now, I had heard that AI was predicting, that he was going to sign with the Mariners. He was going to sign a 10-year contract. I don't think that's going to happen. And if there's word that the White Sox are going to sign him, that's the worst team in baseball, over the last few years. So I like to keep, shoot straight with you and tell you what I think, and not sort of BS you. I'm not a reporter. I'm not any of those things. I don't pretend to be. I'm more of an entertainer. I'm more of an amusing person that says crazy stuff and doesn't care what they say. So that's kind of how I look at it. But my first takes are usually pretty straightforward and very much on the mark. Murakami's not going to sign with the Mets. I'd be shocked if he did. Am I more than Murakami? Am I more than Okamoto? I haven't heard anything from Okamoto. And there are a few other Japanese pitchers on the market. I know the Mets signed this, we're going to sign this international player, Wandy Asigan. And I have no idea who he is. I've never heard of him before. He's 16 years old. He's many, many years away. It might take him 10 years to get developed, But the fact that the Mets took another player from the Yankees, this is embarrassing. This is an embarrassing situation, that they took him away from the Yankees. It's one thing you take, a free agent that's been in the majors. It's another thing to take away an international player, especially when he agreed to sign with the Mets. People are saying that that's the Juan Soto effect because he's Dominican. But who knows? But we'll do some kind. I would mention, I haven't done much on the prospect side. I don't know if the value's there for me to do videos there anymore. So, but I'll keep you updated on that. I'll just put everything here, all the Mets stuff here, all the prospect stuff here. been wanting to do a top 30 prospect that SNY put out, but I don't know who the Mets are trading, if they're going to trade anybody. So that's something I need to sort of keep my, just be patient. Just be patient. I want to do all the stuff with the prospects very soon. I'll probably do it here, but now some major league players that I've heard. I know someone has suggested on SI that the Mets signed Bo Bichette and move him to third. Has he ever played third base before? I don't know. And there's also, Alex Bregman's still out there. Seems the Blue Jays are very interested in him. They've talked to him recently. His market is so slow. He should just stay with the Red Sox, by the way. I would not have a problem with signing Bregman or Bichette to play third and put Brett Beatty at first. We don't know how Brett Beatty could take the first base. And if you sign, Mets sign Polanco, they can kind of Polanco's a switch hitter, and kind of massage some of the at-bats away from Beatty to a certain degree. But it seems that Beatty's going to be playing third for the Mets, but I would, like I said, I'm not a big fan of this, as a player. He's okay. He's gotten better at the Major League level, but he is getting older. He's 26 years old. He's going to be 26, 27. He's getting up there, so he's not really a prospect, a young player anymore. So he has to produce. So now the Mets still need pitching. I had thought that the Michael King signing with the Padres kind of a bit of a kibosh on any kind of moves that the Mets made. Of course, the Mets signed Luke Weaver to a contract, and I thought that was kind of also an indication that those talks kind of fizzled out. People keep saying, well, it keeps, you've signed King, you'll be able to move Pivetta. I saw this trade proposal, this ridiculous trade proposal by Jim Duquette. There's a reason why he does not work in Major League Baseball. Because he didn't know what the hell he's doing. He didn't know what the hell he's talking about. Nick Pivetta is a guy that up until the last 2 years has not been a mediocre pitcher. You do not trade Carson Bench or any of your big pitchers in your minor leagues, or Nick Morabito for that matter, or A.J. Ewing. You don't trade any of those kids. This is how you trade your best prospect for Victor Zambrano. Is listening to him. Don't listen to Jim Duquette. He's an idiot. And he didn't know what he's doing. That's why he doesn't have a job in Major League Baseball. Same thing with Jim Bowden, who's been attacking the Mets as well. He doesn't know what he's talking about either. That guy made a massive trade for Ken Griffey Jr. and did not build a winner around him. You're one of the greatest players in the history of the game, and you don't put any kind of talent around him. That's the reason why he's not in Major League Baseball. The only guy, the two most successful guys that do commentary that are former general managers, Steve Phillips and John Hart. That's it. The rest of these guys are all losers. They're all like failures when it comes to trades and everything else. So just take whatever they say with a grain of salt, because the reason why they'd rather talk to you and talk to me and tell me what they think and stuff if they had a choice. No, they'd rather be in Major League Baseball doing this stuff, but because Major League Baseball don't think they're any good, that's why they're doing what they're doing. Simple as that. I shouldn't offend them, I guess. But so Mets don't have Pete Alonso anymore. They don't have Edwin Diaz anymore. I think with Diaz more than with Pete, he just wanted to get the most money he could get. Okay. And I thought that some of the things that have come out about him, very strange. The Mets had to go back to him and tell him that they signed that. Well, get the hell out of here. You opted out there, clown. You're the one that hurt your leg jumping up and down in some celebration on a game that don't mean anything, and you weren't playing for the Mets, by the way. But, so I'll keep you up to date. Been meaning to do a live stream at some point. I have to do a live stream before we hit Christmas, and of course after Christmas. There's a lot of stuff to talk about here at the Baseball Hut, and I'll have some live stream coming up at some point. But right now, it's been a very quiet winter, aside from the Mets losing players. Like I said, I don't expect any major moves between now and really the new year. I think by January 5th we'll be seeing stuff. So, I haven't seen any indication. Maybe we'll see some movement. We'll certainly see movement on Monday because Murakami's going to figure out what he's going to do. Either he's going to sign with a team or he's going to go back to Japan. That's a move to anticipate. But beyond that, I don't really expect much. I know there was some trades the other day, some sort of minor trades, but we'll see what happens. I'm not. I like to be very straight with you and be very. I don't like to BS anybody. I mean, I used to do all these sort of clickbait videos to get views and stuff, but the reality is I don't expect a lot to happen between now and the new year. But I do expect a lot of movement in January. How many days until first spring training games? Today's the 20th, 11, 42, 62 days until the first spring training games on February 20th. So we got 62 days until we hit. So it's not too far off now. Okay, it's not too far off, and I guess maybe 2 weeks before that. So another 48 days. Another 48 days until pitchers and catchers. And we got a lot of work to do. Mets have a lot of work to do. They have to get some pitching in here. They need a veteran pitcher that can get them some innings. Keep an eye on Chris Bassett. Keep an eye again. I guess on Nick Pivetta. I'm not too enthusiastic about him. So there are a lot of things they need to do. They need another bat here in the outfield. Keep an eye again on Cody Bellinger. He doesn't have much of a market. Kyle Tucker doesn't have much of a market. These guys are not young enough. They're too old. Okay, if they were 25 years old, like Juan Soto was last year, they would be getting massive contracts. They're not getting what they want. It's as simple as that. Boris can stand on his head till the cows come home. These guys are probably going to take lesser contracts. Probably Tucker will probably take a 2-year deal, probably 1-year deal and an opt-out. That's what he'll do. He'll do what Pete did, because he did get hurt last year and he struggled when he came back from his injury. And Bellinger, I could see him going back to the Yankees. I could see him signing with the Mets, but the Mets aren't going to kill themselves with the money. They're not going to do that. Stearns is not going to waste money. Do you want to? And here's the thing: you have to make sure that the players you bring in here can handle New York, can handle the pressure of dealing with stupidity and complaining, constant complaining. It takes a lot. It's a lot of pressure here. Lots of pressure to deal with the insanity of being with the Met fans. Okay, Met fans want to win, but it gets to a point. Now, I'm not like this, but it gets to a point it's a bit much. And all the conspiracy theories about the casino, it's just ridiculous. Okay, now that this is done, I just wanted to thank you for watching. A couple of reminders. I have a new channel called the Baseball Hut 3. It hasn't been up for long, but it's just the numbers are doing awesome. I talk about the media, in particular WFAN. A lot of crazy stuff going on at WFAN. I got so much material on them, I don't know where to begin, because now they're on vacation for the most part for the next 2 weeks, and then they come back with this convicted criminal, Craig Carton, coming back. And I'm going to talk a lot about him and the crimes that he committed on there. So you need to, I'll put the link in the description of this video to subscribe to the Baseball Hut 3. And we'll talk a lot about the media. We got a lot of stuff on the media. The media are very interesting to talk about because nobody talks about them. And there is a lot of gossip that bounces around. They say a lot of stuff. What about that Philadelphia Eagles? That Philadelphia Flyers broadcaster got suspended because he said something inappropriate on the... It's terrible. There's some woman, in the stands, and he didn't realize there was a hot mic on. What a dope. But, stuff like that, I'll talk about there. Not that in particular. That doesn't... I don't want to talk about that. But there's a lot of stuff going on in the media, which is fun to talk about because nobody talks about them. And I think that's why that channel is really on fire. So I got a little over 200 subscribers. Only been on there about a month and a half. It's amazing. And, of course, I'll put a link in there. I'm also on Facebook and get close to 7,000 followers on there. And the account's making money. I'm so happy about that. It's a great way to sort of build up more of the channel here. And it's a great way to, do some more improvements in the house. But thank you for watching this video. Of course, please follow me on Facebook. Subscribe to me here, as always. Have a good day. I'll see you later. News, we have a major trade that's just taken place. Jeff Passan is reporting that the St. Louis Cardinals are trading Wilson Contreras. Wilson, come back. Well, he's not coming back. He's getting sent to Boston. I don't have all the details, and he didn't post any of the details of the trade. But he is a first baseman now, and he's going to be playing first for the Red Sox. And he has a lot of leadership. He's going to be a great fit for the Red Sox. Now, how this affects the Mets is there were rumors the last few hours, last 12 hours, 24 hours, that they were in on Kazuma Okamoto, the Japanese first baseman, third baseman, outfielder that's on the market. That affects his market with the Mets. Maybe the Mets pivot, try to get somebody that then they need a right-handed bat. Also, earlier today, the Chicago White Sox signed Yutaka Murakami, which is a major move for them. If they get anything out of him, he's going to have tremendous effect on their organization. If he doesn't, it doesn't really affect them. It's really a very high risk, high reward situation for them, and we'll see what happens there. But that is some of the things that have happened today in Major League Baseball, and of course, this is the Baseball Hut. And please hit the subscribe button, and of course, follow me on. Hi everybody, this is the Baseball Hut, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the People's Champion. Your host, and welcome back to the Baseball Hut. Hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So there was a trade just a little while ago. Wilson Contreras got traded from the Cardinals to the Red Sox. And if I understand, they picked up a prospect who's a pitcher, and he's been in the majors. The people that are pissed off about that, pissed off about this move, pissed off about that move. Do you want to trade Jonah Tong for a 32-year-old first baseman, converted first baseman? No. So just keep that in mind, okay? Because I guess that's what they traded the Red Sox. The Red Sox in a very different situation. They're putting pieces together of a team that they're trying to win the division. And the Mets are going to be good next year. You have to calm the fuck down. Got to calm down. Mets are going to be good. Just be good, be patient, enjoy the holiday spirit, as I cursed. But anyway, there was a lot of movement today in Major League Baseball. Yutaka Murakami did not sign with the New York Mets. I know your favorite YouTubers were predicting that he was going to sign with the Mets. Your host did not say that in the previous video. I said that he was not going to sign with the Mets, that he was going to sign elsewhere. I said that he's going to sign with the White Sox because I've heard and read an article by Mark Feinstein that that's where he was going. And I would mention to the Major League Baseball writers, can you guys credit the person that actually put out there that he signed with the White Sox? And this was this Japanese reporter, which they didn't credit, amazingly enough. They credited it. If you're not in their circle, they don't credit you. Simple as that. But so he wasn't going to sign here, and basically for the reason that I said on X is that is a poor defensive player. He really didn't have a place to play here. He wasn't going to play second, obviously. He wasn't going to play first. The Mets have so many infielders here. That's the one thing the Mets have a lot of, is a lot of infielders. And they can bring another guy in, and he's not a good defensive player, and there's questions about whether he can hit a quality fastball. This was a good move for the White Sox because the White Sox are building a team. They probably will lose 93 games next year, as opposed to their customary 140 games the past 2 years. I'm exaggerating, of course, but they do have the all-time record for most losses in a season from a few years ago. But the White Sox are in a different situation. If he is a good player like he was in Japan, and he's able to hit that high velocity, they're going to have a guy there for the next 2 years, or even the next 4 months into the season. And if he's any good, they will move him. And they will get a boatload of young players for him because he is a still very young guy, 26 years old. And he'll be 27 when he hits free agency again. So there's that's a good move for them. And it's a good move for him, too. He'll go to a place where there won't be any pressure there. There's no pressure there on that side of town. There's no pressure in Chicago anyway, but there's certainly no pressure with the White Sox. So all he has to do is get his at-bats, develop himself as a major league player in North America, and that's all he has to do. Now, what this has done, this had a domino effect. There were all kinds of talks today about Luis Robert Jr. I went through his numbers. The last 2 years, his OPS plus was 86 and 85. And he's 14% worse than the average major leaguer and 15% worse than the average major leaguer offensively. Aside from the 1 year where he hit 38 home runs, he's a guy that's hit 13, 14, 15 home runs a year. That is not great. And he hit 38 home runs in 2023, I believe, and he drove in 80 runs. Well, now what that tells me is that he's not good with men's scoring position and that he hits a lot of solo home runs. I think we've seen enough guys here that do that kind of stuff. How many solo home runs did Juan Soto have? He had a great year, but I'm just saying, we've seen enough of that over the years, and guys that can't hit with men's scoring position. And he's been in a losing situation. He's had very strange, he's had very strange behavior on the field at times. Like it seems like he doesn't care. So, everybody like trying to go crazy about Luis Robert Jr. I've watched the player because there's been rumors for 2 years that the Mets wanted to get this guy. So I've been watching him, and the numbers aren't great offensively. He's a terrible offensive player, aside from the 1 year. So now he did play well under Tony La Russa when he was there those years, especially in 2022. But keep in mind, 2021 specifically, but keep in mind when it comes to Robert Jr., if he doesn't stay on the field as much as he should, he's a guy that has some issues there on the field, and the bat's not great. So keep that in mind. That's just my opinion. What I've read, what I've seen over the last few years, all these rumors about them trying to get him. When I hear rumors about the player and he's sort of sitting out there, and he's making $20 million next year. That is a lot of money for a .259 career hitter. And a guy that's had an OPS under 86 the past 2 seasons. That's a hard pill to swallow. I would be surprised if we see any movement from the Mets between now and really New Year's Day. I'd be very surprised. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll see some movement on Monday and Tuesday going into Christmas, but I really would be surprised. There was movement today, obviously, with the trade, with the Red Sox and the Cardinals, and with Murakami, but I would be surprised. And I would mention with the also, I think it's funny, all the sort of retreads the Yankees are signing. They signed Zach Short, former Met. They signed the immortal Paul Blackburn, and of course, one of the greatest prospects in the history of the New York Mets, Ahmed Rosario, who's on his 9th team since being traded for Francisco Lindor. He is, again, what a beat down these guys' doors to re-sign these guys. Wow. Yankees doing some job there up in the Bronx. They are, of course, as you know, the 4A team of the New York Mets. They're not the AAA team, they're the 4A team of the New York Mets with our wonderful minor league manager, Aaron Boone. As I say, it's very much joking around, but where was I going with this? Well, anyway, I want to thank you for coming by. Now, I would mention, I'm not going to end this video. What am I doing? Okay, talk a little bit more here. But if there were to be a trade, I've heard rumors about Mark Vientos going, and Luis Angel Acuna. That's way too much. I would do a straight up trade of probably a Vientos for Robert, or Vientos for Acuna. I wouldn't trade both of them, to be honest. That's an overpay, and I certainly wouldn't trade any of my young pitchers for him. That's a damn sure. You take from your strength, which is the Mets middle infield, and as all these young infielders they have, and all these infielders they have in the major league level. There's so many guys that they can trade. There's no reason to sort of, take from your pitching or take from your outfield. Mets don't have a lot of outfield depth, and they don't have a lot, being honest with you, they really don't. I mean, we have Carson Benj, and we have Nick Morabito and A.J. Ewing, but that's pretty much it. But the Mets have a ton of infielders that they can move. Obviously, with Jeff Williams, A.J. Ewing, I'm not going to move him. I think he's better than we thought he would be, specifically when the Mets drafted him a few years ago. But I guess I'll end the video here. Now, I would mention a couple of things to end this video. I do have a new channel. Always something new going on here. at the Baseball Hut. Excuse me. But I had the Baseball Hut 3, which is basically me talking about the media, making fun of WFAN. I mean, discussing WFAN, and it's been doing really well. I need more subscribers. I think that channel's going to get monetized very quickly. I need more subscribers to the channel. I'll put the link in the description. Also, I am on Facebook. I'm on Facebook, getting close to 7,000 followers on there. I could certainly use more followers. So if you're on Facebook, if you're on one of these boomers on Facebook, go in there and follow. Put the link in the description of this video again. I think some people came in the last 24 hours. And of course, it's all about building and growing this very small independent channel and voice. Because I am outside the mainstream, which is fine. There's strength and power there. So, you know, you get a lot done when you're from the outside looking at it. Believe me. You make them jump. Especially WFAN. I love making them jump. But, thank you for watching this video. And of course, please subscribe to the Baseball Hut, and I'll see you later. Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Hut. The amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion. Your host, the Hut, and welcome back to another visit to the insane asylum known as WFAN.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
And welcome back to the Baseball Hut 3. And hopefully you like this video. And hit that subscribe button. So we're back here talking about Craig Carton returns to WFAN. He will be returning on January 5th. In fact, the whole lineup at the fan is being completely turned over. Because Craig Carton, I guess, supposedly gets good ratings and buzz. But a couple of things, and I was thinking about this, and a lot of people are very upset about this. Because guys that did a good job, Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata, basically were let go. They were fired from the fan. They did a good job. They got good ratings. People liked the show. They got attention for themselves on the radio. And they were let go. For a guy that has burned a lot of people, he's burned a lot of bridges. Now, he's going to be, I will mention this about Craig Carton, he's going to be a very fun subject. A very fun subject for your host to talk about. Because I was reading this article earlier and yesterday. He's thin skin. He's very thin skinned. So he's going to be a lot of fun. I will get a reaction out of him. That I can assure you. But what's interesting is that this guy has done a lot of things wrong, and he keeps getting chance after the chance. There's nothing wrong with redemption. But when guys are being stepped on and being thrown to the side for this guy, then a lot of people are upset about it. I mean, a lot of people leaving negative comments about Carton are saying the same things. You know, this is a guy that, hurt a lot of people. He keeps getting chance after chance. And you have two guys that did a good job again. But let me read you this, and this is kind of funny. What Carton said here, this is from Barrett Media. This is a great site that I found. It's a radio site. They get all the radio news, and they get this actually before awful announcing. And what's great about this site, awful announcing sucks. I mean, it's a great website, but it freezes on my computer. Drives me nuts. But Barrett Media doesn't. Headline. Craig Carton, Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata did nothing wrong as they depart WFAN. Wasn't that funny, interesting? Let me read that again. Brandon Tierney, Sal Licata did nothing wrong. Well, he did a lot of things wrong. This is Craig Carton. We'll get into that. Quote, I've never been in a situation where a radio station or company allowed someone who's not continuing at that station to still go on the air. End quote. Craig Carton addressed the ripple effects of his highly publicized return to WFAN, offering praise and empathy, for Brandon Tierney and Sal Licata while acknowledging the difficult realities of sports radio roster changes. Did he feel any empathy when he was stealing $5.6 million? No. Appearing on Evan and Tiki, Carton spoke candidly about how his move back into the afternoon drive coincided with the end of Tierney and Licata's program on the station. While Carton was not involved in the decision-making process, he emphasized the two hosts handled their departures with professionalism and grace. But what are they supposed to do? They want to burn bridges. They want to come back in the future. Well, Brandon Sal didn't do anything wrong. That's right. It's a tough business we've all chosen. But it's the business we have chosen, and I thought they handled the news as well as anyone in the history of radios ever handled it. This is like a line from The Godfather, too. I didn't ask who gave the order. I didn't ask who gave the order. You know, Hyman Roth complaining about Mo Green. I don't know. I mean, I didn't ask who gave the order when he shot him in the eye. I know I'm paraphrasing. But it's very much like that. This is the business we've chosen. I didn't ask who gave the order. No, of course not. What do you think was going to happen? He doesn't give a shit. This guy doesn't give a shit. Remember, he conned a lot of people out of money. So he doesn't give a shit. Okay? He wanted to come back. He has a friend at the station. He didn't burn his bridges with him, and he was coming back. Tierney and Licata were allowed to remain on the air to the conclusion of their run with the station. That, you know why that happened? That's guilt. That's guilt by the program director and the president of the station. That's guilt. Carton noted that decision spoke volumes about the trust WFAN management had in the duo. That's guilt. I've never been in a situation where a radio station or a company allowed someone who's not continuing at that station to still go on the air. Carton said they never would have let those guys go on the air if there wasn't an amazing amount of trust, right, and professionalism. No, it's guilt. While Carton acknowledged how painful the situation was for those affected, he expressed confidence in both hosts' future. He doesn't give a shit. He can say all this. He doesn't care. He got his seat back. That's all he cares about. And the reason he's back is because his Fox show was a disaster. That Fox show that he has was a failure. He does not translate well on TV. Quote, I also root for them and want the best for them. I'm sure they will land on their feet and do amazing things in the future in their careers. Does that sound like a form letter to you? It certainly does. I mean, it's the kind of thing you get when you're up for a job and they say that to you. You know, I'm sure you'll land on your feet, do amazing things in the future. Just like something that a teacher writes to a parent, writes to a student in high school. Carton also addressed some listener reaction to his return, particularly criticism, suggesting his arrival directly caused others to lose their jobs. While understanding the perception, he said the circumstances were more complex than they appeared. Okay? I get it, and I'm sensitive to it. No, you're not. And I just want the best for those two guys, Carton said. Fortunately, that's not here right now, but you never know what the future holds. Let me tell you something. He ain't going to be around at WFAN that long. I'm going to make that prediction. Remember, something about comebacks. Comebacks don't last that long. They don't last that long. That's for damn sure. In addition to Tierney and Licata's exit, Carton's return resulted in Evan and Tiki moving from afternoon drive to middays. Now, Evan was asked to take back Carton, and he said no. So he not only, this is how stupid Uneven Evan is. Uneven Evan is so stupid that not only did he give up his radio show in the afternoon, but he gave up his TV show in the afternoon. That's on SNY. So is Carton taking that back? Of course he is. Of course. Because SNY likes having a show on there to come in before the Met games in the afternoon. So, Carton made a point to acknowledge the sacrifice Evan Roberts and Tiki Bar made in the reshuffling of his eventual return. But they gave up the TV show. You don't give up the TV show, man. Quote, I'm very sensitive to the fact that my coming back has not been good for everybody. It hasn't been good for anybody. He was talking about it. Only good for him. I know you guys moved from afternoon drive, which I know means the world to you guys, to a different day part isn't what you expected or wanted. Yeah, this guy's a fucking bullshit artist. My God. Despite the changes, Carton expressed confidence in WFN's revamped lineup and gratitude toward his colleagues for embracing the transition. I appreciate the fact you're doing it with a smile on your face. You're going to kill it in middays. Licata officially signed off from the fan last week, while Tierney officially signed off B&T and Sal in middays earlier Friday. Now, a couple of things. He doesn't care, okay? He doesn't care. So one thing he knows is that when he took the offer from Fox, that if he wanted to go back to the fan, he could go back anytime he wanted. Okay? So it was a failure. It was a failure. He tried TV. It didn't work. Okay? But people don't look at it like that. People look at him coming back a third time, and these guys getting fired when they did a decent job. People in this country don't like it when you break your ass and you work hard and you struggle to get where you need to go, and somebody that has committed crimes, real crimes, is able to get away with it. Now here's from USA Today Sports. This is from September 6th, 2017. You look up Craig Carton and scams and everything else, you'll find all these old articles about his arrest. Headline: Sports radio host Craig Carton arrested in alleged ticket scam. Get this. Now this is before he was sentenced. Prominent sports radio personality Craig Carton was arrested Wednesday on charges he scammed $5.6 million from investors in a ticket reselling scheme to pay his gambling debts. Holy shit. The motor mouth co-host of the Boomer and Carton morning show on New York's WFAN allegedly, well, it wasn't allegedly now, he did, switched from sports squads to crime teams last year after he racked up millions of dollars in debt to 2 gambling casinos, an additional $825,000 to another individual. That's the bookie. Carton allegedly tried to dupe one potential investor by showing a fictitious agreement to purchase millions of dollars worth of face value tickets to upcoming concerts by artists Katy Perry, Justin Bieber, Roger Waters, Metallica, and Barbara Streisand, according to a civil complaint filed by the Securities and Exchange Commission. And I don't know if he pled, I gotta look it up again, but I believe he pled guilty to all this, so he admitted that he did this. Similarly, he showed another investor documents about a purported agreement to buy millions of dollars worth of concert tickets for popular singer Adele directly from her management company, the complaint charged. Now, who's dumb enough to fall for this? Well, same people that were dumb enough to rehire him at that time. Quote, guys, I've done it, Carton allegedly texted to an unidentified co-conspirator on October 12, 2016. One investor, Reddy, committed $10 million liquid and $40 million LLC line of credit with $50 million more if needed. I need some info. List of shows with 100% prove access to tickets. Wow. In reality, federal authorities alleged that the agreements were phony, and the signatures of concert promoters and venue officials were forgeries. The complaint said. Wow. The SEC charged Carton and companies he controlled with federal securities fraud. The court complaint also charged co-defendant Joseph Melly, who was previously charged with a similar reselling scam involving reported cease of the Spanish Broadway musical Hamilton. Federal prosecutors in Manhattan filed parallel criminal charges of conspiracy, wire fraud, and securities fraud against Carton and co-defendant Michael Wright. Wow. Investors were lured with promise of big profits from resales of A-list concert tickets. But little did they know their money was being used. Hold on a second. Sorry about that, a bit of a flutter. Investors were lured with promises of big profits from resales of A-list concert tickets. But little did they know their money was being used to cover Carton's gambling debts, said Paul Levinson, director of the SEC's Boston Regional Office. Behind all the talk, the Wright and Carton show was just a sham, designed to fleece investors out of millions, ultimately to be spent on payments to casinos and to pay off other personal debt, said acting Manhattan U.S. Attorney John Kim. Carton and Wright were ordered released on $500,000 personal reconnaissance bonds following their initial appearance in Manhattan federal court. Wow. Carton is co-host of the popular CBS operated show with former NFL quarterback Norman Esiason. The show has aired since 2007. CBS radio spokesperson told USA Today Sports the network was aware of Carton's arrest and cooperating with authorities. During the show's Wednesday morning broadcast, Esiason initially appeared to think that Carton had called in sick. He didn't get sick. He got arrested. The retired Cincinnati Bengals star later told listeners he was stunned to learn the FBI agents had arrested Carton at the radio psychic's home in Lower Manhattan. I mean, this is... So we'll get into further. We'll get into further into this whole situation about what he actually did. Because he did spend time in prison. And, I mean, he's made $5.6 million. My gosh. $5.6 million of gambling debt. And meanwhile, folks, you know, he had this show on the weekends where he was trying to help people, you know, break the addiction to gambling. But here's the funny thing. Going through all these different, like, you know, reports and all these different, like, articles, he works for FanDuel. He has a contract with FanDuel. So he still is being propped up by the gambling racket. I mean, what's going on here? I better be careful. Watch my back, you know. But I'm just saying, this is crazy, you know. But then again, this is what you get when you're dealing with the criminally insane at the nervous hospital known as WFAN. God help me.
They're coming to take me away, ha-ha. They're coming to take me away, ho-ho, hee-hee, ha-ha, to the funny fun.
Hi, everybody. This is the Baseball Head, the amazing, spectacular, terrific, the great one, the people's champion, your host, welcome back to the Baseball Head 3. And hopefully you like this video and hit that subscribe button. So we're going to talk again about the insane asylum WFAN, and we have a couple of guys that have left. They've been given their release, been set free, which is probably the best thing for them. And that's Brandon Team and Sal Licata. This video is about Sal, who I've goofed on for the last 2 years because he would have like these spaz outs. I think you all know that. But I feel really bad for these guys because I goofed on them. Not that I feel bad about goofing on them, but I feel bad that they both lost their jobs. They both got fired from WFAN because they had to go because you know, Craig Carton was coming back and they had to come back. They had to go, you know. And even Evan Roberts didn't want to, you know, team up again with Craig. And he went to the mid-afternoons, mid-mornings, and that's it. But Sal Licata has revealed a lot of stuff that happened. And Brandon Teeny did too. I did a video on him. You check it out. I got so many videos on them right now. But this is from the New York Post. Sal Licata opens up on WFAN departure as Craig Carton returns. And one thing he couldn't account for. Now, a couple of things. WFAN's essentially on vacation. From now until January 5th, that's when the new lineup opens up and is exposed, is revealed to the audience. Same shit, different day, you know how it is, it's the same thing, you know. Making up stuff about the sports figures in New York and in sports in general. Sal Licata has placed his afternoon drive dreams in the rearview mirror. New York radio star opened up on his departure from WFAN following Craig Carton's return to the station in early December. During a Friday appearance on Stu Gatson Company, Licata, who hosts the midday slot with Brandon Teeny, revealed that he wasn't surprised Carton was returning to the station for a third time after his Fox show got canceled in July. Now, I talked a lot about this on the Baseball Head too, and I said his show was in trouble. He was in trouble. But he was shocked to learn that it would come at his expense. I was not. I told Spaz that in my videos. And you can say, well, why are you saying it like that? Well, I made fun of Spaz and Sal for quite a while, and he blocked me on X, and then he unblocked me. Did a whole video on it, made fun of him, had to laugh at him. So he knows what I do here. Anybody who didn't know that Craig was coming back the second that he left Fox was just not paying attention, Licata said. My plan was never, I hope he doesn't come back. It was always, I got to do the best job that I can do with the opportunity I've been given. And I feel like I did. He did a good job, you know. But once Carton was done with his little TV show, Licata was the low man on the totem pole. He was in trouble. Not so much Tierney, but him. Licata labored through grueling overnight shifts before finally seizing the midday shift with Tierney. Gunning for the coveted afternoon slot, Licata admitted that he was hurt to find out that the fan was bringing back Carton to host afternoon drive with current overnight host Chris McMonagle, a.k.a. the Psycho Killer. You ever see pictures of this guy, man? He looks like a killer from one of the Scream movies or whatever. It's really scary. Bumping Evan Roberts and Tiki Barber, let me say this again, uneven Evan Roberts and his husband, Tiki Barber, to the midday show, and leaving Licata and Tierney as the odd men out. I think, originally, the odd man out was Sal. I think Tierney might have survived this, but I think that a lot of stuff was up in the air. Craig Carton, while I factored in Craig coming back, then I factored in that no matter how well I performed, how much I put into this thing, how good we did as a show, or I did as an individual, it didn't matter. It doesn't matter, Spaz. There was nothing I could have done. Maybe I was naive and foolish about it, but yeah, obviously it hurts because I gave so much of my life to that place. Whether it be my first stint with them, whether it was coming back, starting part-time again on the overnights, then getting the full-time overnights, working my way to midday. We kind of didn't blame the station for bringing back Carton, stressing that he carries great respect for his friends at the station, and wish them nothing but the best. They're your competitors. Okay, Sal? They're your competitors. You got the biggest knife mark in the back from your friend, Craig Carton, and he's not your friend. Still, Licata said that he's ready to put his WFAN days behind him and won't be listening to at any time. Sal said that he's ready to put his WFAN days behind him and won't be listening in anytime soon. In other words, won't go around stalking his ex-girlfriend on Instagram. But the way I look at it is this. That part of my life and that part of my dream is over. Now I got to focus on a bigger dream, a different path. I love the fan. I always love the fan, but my future definitely is no longer WFN. Spaz, the best thing you could do is build your own platform. Build your own audience. Tierney's doing that. He's doing that. And if you're getting invited to Alex Rodriguez's Christmas party, you don't need WFAN. Spaz. Can I call you Spaz? You don't need that. You don't need them. What do you need them for? So you can lose your job, do a good job, and get fired anyway? And I thought that the insincerity of Craig Carton, just reading it, from the other day, because he was on Evan and Tiki's show on Friday, and he was on TV as well. It was simulcast on TV. I thought just reading it, I didn't watch it, but I see how insincere some of the things he said. Very much form letter kind of stuff, things that he said about Sal and Tierney. Not good. He doesn't care that they lost their job. He really doesn't. If he had any feelings of that, he would have been a little more. I feel for them. Yeah, no, you don't. If you felt for them, you wouldn't have came back. You don't care. He just wants to come back and show he's the big guy on campus. I would mention he doesn't really care that the Fox show collapsed because it was canceled, because he always had WFAN on the side. And I said this in other videos, and I am very good at predicting people's behavior, to be honest with you. And Craig Carton is pretty easy to figure out. Okay, from what I've read and the things I've observed, going through different articles, he's very thin-skinned. I saw that there was a comment that Boomer Esiason had said about him a few years ago, and they had a little spat, the two of them. So I have a pretty good idea. He's extremely thin-skinned. Extremely thin-skinned. Don't let the smirk fool you. He's extremely thin-skinned. So he's gonna be a lot of fun talking about. It's gonna be a lot of fun talking about the icon. I couldn't have made that up. They put out a press release and they described him as the icon. They could have put him out as a WFAN legend, radio legend. They put him out icon. I have emphasized the con part of it. But Craig Carton is going to be a very fun subject to talk about. Got a thin-skinned guy. There's nothing better than making fun of a guy that's got thin skin. Now, your host has thick skin, believe it or not. I just don't like this sort of, I'll tell you a couple things I can't stand. People that leave me wall words, where it's like all these words, you got to read it, and they keep writing to me and writing to me and writing to me. I lose my patience. That stuff drives me crazy. Or they just make fun of me in some way that has nothing to do with what I talked about. That drives me nuts. But I'm very thick-skinned, to be honest with you. Nothing really bothers me. So I don't care what people say about me. But what's funny is when you have a thin-skinned guy and he can't take it. He likes to pretend that he can take it. But Craig Carton can't take it. That's some of the things I've read and just observations. He's very thin-skinned. He's very insecure. That's why he got himself in all that trouble that he got into and was in prison. And he really lays it on thick to the people he needs to lay it on thick of. When he said about them on the radio station, on Evan and Tiki the other day, that's form letter nonsense. He could have said that about anybody. He'd say anything in any kind of way that was meaningful. It was all bullshit. And again, I'll say this again. He's the first time around was 10 years on the van. Second time was 3 years, and I'll make a prediction. This is going to be over very quickly. So you better get ready, folks. He comes across as very unsteady and very unstable professionally. And we're going to find out. And this is a very unstable profession anyway, a talk show host on the radio. But thank you for watching this video. Of course, this is another, well, actually, it's not really, this is really a video about Sal Licata. Well, thank you for watching this video. And whenever I do these videos on WFAN, we always have the funny farm music because it's funny. I think it's hysterically funny. I don't know if anybody else does, but I know I do. But thanks for watching. Hit the subscribe button. I'll see you later. Worst kept secrets in baseball has happened. The Mets have traded Jeff McNeil. Now, the secret was, where was he going to go? And he's been traded to the Sacramento Athletics. Used to be known as the Oakland Athletics, and of course, they've been in plenty other places as well over the last 150 years. But Jeff got traded to the A's today for a 17-year-old right-handed pitcher named Yordan Rodriguez. I don't know anything about him. We're not going to see him for a long time. But the continued dismantling of this team has continued. I do not believe the Mets are in rebuild mode at this point. If they were, Lindor would be in trouble in terms of where he would be going, and David Peterson would probably be getting moved as well. But that's the big news here today, is that the Mets finally traded Jeff McNeil, and he's going to the A's for a young pitcher. And I'll keep you up to date on everything that's going on with the Mets. I'm a little late because I was working today, but of course, hit me up in the comment section. Subscribe to me on YouTube and follow me on Facebook.